My name is Jenna. I grew up in a small, idyllic village in France, where golden wheat fields stretched as far as the eye could see. Every morning, when the sunlight shines down, my village seems to light up, and the scent of grass and soil makes me feel strangely peaceful. There are only two people in my family, me and my mother. My mother is a talented woman, a painter with skillful hands, but her career has never been recognized as she wanted. My mother painted for a living, selling individual paintings to local cafes or the rare tourists who passed through the village. People often said that she gave up her big dream to raise me, but she never complained or expressed regret about it. She just smiled softly whenever someone mentioned that painting had become a big career, and I knew that was her way of showing me the silent sacrifice she had made for me. My mother is everything to me. She is not only my foster mother, but also my greatest friend, my teacher of the world through her fairy tales and her paintings. She taught me to see the world through the eyes of an artist, to see beauty in the simplest things. On rainy nights, I often sit on my mother's lap, listening to her tell stories about the faraway lands she dreamed of painting, and I dream of one day going to those lands with her. Our life was hard but peaceful. Our house was small and simple, with walls worn by time, cold in winter and stuffy in summer. But I loved it there, loved every corner of the house, loved the smell of canvas and paint my mother used in her work. She always tried her best to give us a full life even though we didn't have much. The meals were simple, but always filled with love. My mother was a strong woman, and perhaps it was that strength that became my only source of strength during my early years. But that life, though peaceful, did not last forever. One day, when I was not yet 10 years old, my mother decided that it was time for us to leave this village. I did not understand the reason, but she did it without asking me. She said, "We will return to her hometown, the place where she was born and raised." I did not ask more because I knew that she always had her reasons, even though those reasons may have confused me. My mother told me that we would find a new life, a new opportunity. Although I didn't fully understand it, I felt this change coming, like a quiet storm. The village where my mother grew up was a bigger city, with tall buildings, busy streets, and unfamiliar people. I would have to live a different life, a life without the familiar village, without the vast wheat fields. On the day we were leaving, I stood on the stone bridge where my mother used to sit and paint. The last time I looked back at our little house, I felt an indescribable sadness. I didn't know what I was going to face, but I had a clear sense that something big was waiting, something that would change everything. When we arrived at my mother's hometown, I immediately felt the difference. The house that my mother called home when she was a child seemed strange to me. It was not as cozy as our old house, without the colorful paintings. This was an old house, damp and cold. My mother, despite her efforts to decorate it with her own paintings, I could feel the loneliness in her heart. She always maintained a strong image in front of me, but I could see the occasional disappointment in her eyes. Life here was not what I expected. Mom started working in a small art gallery to make a living, but the work was not easy. We live in a crowded city, where people are in a hurry and life is full of challenges. I go to a strange school, have no friends, no one understands me. Every day, I sit alone in the classroom, feeling more lost and lonely than ever. But no matter how much things changed, my mother was still my only support. She always encouraged me to draw, saying that drawing was a way for me to see the world in my own way. I no longer saw the wheat fields or the peaceful village, but I began to learn to find beauty in simple things, just like my mother had taught me. Despite the hardships I faced, I gradually realized that my mother and I both had our own dreams. My mother had given up her big dream to raise me, but now she had the opportunity to find herself again. Like my mother, I began to dream that one day I could do something big, drawing pictures not only to earn a living, but also to express myself. My life is not as simple as it used to be, but I have learned a valuable lesson, no matter what the circumstances. My mother's love and sacrifice will always be the greatest strength in my life. And no matter how many times we have to change, I will always be her daughter, a girl who loves art and never gives up on her dreams. The new town where my mother was born and raised looked like a fairy tale, with its winding cobblestone streets and ancient houses bearing the marks of time. The houses were covered with climbing plants and had stained glass windows, making the place seem like it had come straight out of a fairy tale that my mother had only ever told me. Wow. But what attracted me most was the majestic palace in the center of the city. Despite its age, with moss-covered walls and rusty iron gates, the palace still exuded an extraordinary majesty. It felt like it had its own soul, a living character, arousing my curiosity and desire to explore. Mother used to say that this palace belongs to the royal family, but the king left long ago. Now, only the Duchess, a mysterious woman, and her courts live there. Life here was not easy, even though her mother had a new job at the palace. With her talent for painting, she was hired as a portrait painter for the royal family. My mother often had to work at the palace, and I was always at home, waiting for her to return. Although my mother always told me not to go near that place, I could not resist my curiosity. On quiet afternoons, when my mother was busy working, I would often stand alone in the small room, looking out the window, daydreaming about what was happening inside the palace.